with one from the AFC West.
Maybe I've had too many hot dogs already on the 4th of July, but I like the Broncos to win the AFC West. I've been talking myself into this team all offseason, almost a 40% pressure rate last year. That was the second best in football. I think that you look at Jedi Barron, their first-round pick. He's going to be able to do so much there. Bo Nix, his floor is going to be raised. Sean Payton gets it done this year. She's still very good, though.
That's a good one. That's solid. In the spirit of the independent thought, I like it a lot. Harry, what do you got?
I have the Houston Texans. This was a fantastic defense last season, but I'm going to take it a step further. They will lead the NFL in takeaways this year. You have the highest paid corner in Derek Stingley Jr. We know he's a ball hawk. You have two ferocious pass rushers in Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter. They will get C.J. Stroud the ball back multiple times. They will lead the league in takeaways.
Yeah, that's solid. I mean, I'm not sure how, independent it is, maybe, but we'll allow it. How about you, Mike T? What do you got?
Bronze, let me show you how this game is played. Will Howard will be starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers by December 1st. And let me tell you
That's
why.
what I'm talking about.
Happy 4th of July.
Will Howard led Ohio State to the national championship, 89 QBR, 35 touchdown passes. And if he was a little bit better in the offseason before the draft, he could have been a third or fourth round pick. Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great, but he will be 42 in December. Last year, Pittsburgh gave up sacks at the 28th highest rate, meaning they were not very good protecting the passer. So when you have a 42-year-old quarterback, no offseason program, an offensive line that should, in fairness, be better because Troy Fontenot is coming back, I think Will Rodgers has a meaningful chance to be the quarterback of the future, and Mike Tomlin will play the best players. And by the time we get to December, watch what happens.
Will Howard, you said Will Rodgers, which would actually be amazing. But
that's how you know he doesn't believe it. He said Will Rodgers.
Will Rodgers had a good career for University of Washington, by the way.
And he did.
Harry, Harry, I could tell you were disagreeing with Mike. We got to give him credit. That he really understood the assignment, but you don't agree with him.
No, because that is a very independent take. You're right. You really hit the nail on that one, Mike T. But before they play Will Howard, they will play Mason Rudolph. Yeah. Mike Tomlin's not just going to go to a rookie quarterback when you have Mason Rudolph that you brought back in free agency.
That's what I'm saying. If Mike T's prediction comes true, I think it's because the season has gone poorly, and the Steelers want to find out what they have in Will Howard.
Correct, but even if it goes poorly, they're going to ride Mason Rudolph. If Aaron Rodgers gets benched or something terrible happens with his health by October or November, it's going to be the Mason Rudolph show from there on out. I think Will Howard, I watch a lot of college football. He's not ready. He's not very good. And you mentioned Will Howard is the reason he led them to a national championship. Guess who led them to a national championship? Jeremiah Smith and those running backs and that offensive line and that defense and Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. Will Howard pretty low down the list. His accuracy didn't blow me away. I didn't see a high floor that's going to lead to early success, training camp success, the type of path that gets early reps. I just don't see it, guys.
Yeah, and he's not talking about early reps. He's talking about late in the season,
well,
right?
No, I'm just in order to play, you'd have to get training camp reps and work with the twos early. I just don't see that.
I don't want to if Will Howard's starting for the Steelers in December, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about that. I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, and is he set up well enough in Pittsburgh to avoid a situation like this?
And again, I think the key guy is Caleb Johnson, who's the third-round pick out of University of Iowa, because again, what does Arthur Smith do great? Play action, run game, and that plays well to what Aaron Rodgers did in his prime, the boot and his mobility. So the question to me is there enough less athletically with Aaron Rodgers? Again, I think the offensive line will be a little bit better, Harry. I know you agree with that. And if the offensive line is better, they can run the ball. They need Aaron Rodgers to be somewhere 20, 25 attempts a game, guys. Yeah. At 42, you don't want to put the weight of the offense on him.
You mentioned the boot and the stuff Arthur Smith likes to do well. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm calling Arthur Smith. I'm meeting somewhere in Malibu next week and saying, let's find middle ground in our two offenses, because it worked with Matt LaFleur. Putting his back towards the defense, those blind throws, it worked. And so I think if you have emerging there, Aaron Rodgers likes to spread the defense out, use his cadence, not a lot of motion, do his thing at the line. Arthur Smith's not going to want to do that. So you merge the two offenses. There can be success here and a middle ground to be found.
Mike T mentioned it. The Steelers allowed the second highest pressure rate in the league last year. Aaron Rodgers playing for the Jets, their line allowed the sixth lowest. So it's going to be possibly tougher for him to stay protected. We'll see. Obviously, we're going to be following that story quite closely. But in the meantime, here's ours to inspire the current team. One note that stood out comes from new head coach Brian Schottenheimer, who said the following, quote, "I think the more those guys are around, the more we see their Super Bowl rings, which they wear very proudly. I think that's great for our guys because that's why we do it. We don't hide from that." So, Cowboys, Kevin, I looked this up. Haven't been to the Super Bowl in a while. I don't know if that's mentioned.
This can backfire because they can see the Super Bowl rings and go, oh, we're not those guys, and we're far away from those guys. So I'm not sure how helpful this is really going to be.
But, I mean, is there a lot of pressure? I mean, like Brian Schottenheimer, first-year coach, kind of nobody saw coming in terms of a hire. Is there a lot of pressure on him?
No, there's not. In my opinion, we know what the Cowboys are. They're going to win 9, 10, 11 games. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. They don't have the talent for that. You don't hire Brian Schottenheimer if you're a Super Bowl contender. So by definition, Schottenheimer is not under pressure to win a Super Bowl. I just don't think it's that kind of team.
But you do hire Brian Schottenheimer if you believe that he can take this offense and the quarterback, Dak Prescott, to a whole nother level, which I believe they can, and here's why. They now have 3 first-round picks on the offensive line. Kind of reminds me of our really good New York Jet days when Brian Schottenheimer was our offensive coordinator. We had a great offensive line. And if they could stabilize that, get Dak to play in 17 games, control the ball, which is something Brian believes in, that will minimize the biggest deficiency of this team, which is their defense. I think they could win 9 or 10 games. I think that's a successful season for Brian Schottenheimer. And Graz, I agree with what Kevin said. Like, I don't think there's a lot of pressure because for once we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, not with these massive expectations. So I think clearly Philly and Washington have much greater expectations. And I think Brian can establish a lot of credibility in year 1.
What do you think, Harry? What would success look like for Brian Schottenheimer in his first year as head coach?
I would say having the ability to make the playoffs, but I do agree also with Kevin and Mike Tannenbaum. When you look at Brian Schottenheimer, one of the reasons why they hired him, you look at him offensively, they did not run the football successfully. He did that with the New York Jets. Mike T, you was there with him. He also did that when he was with the Seattle Seahawks. What has kind of been one of the deficiencies of the Dallas Cowboys in their offense, the inability to run the football. I do not believe that you can contend at any level of football if you're not balanced offensively. And that's exactly what they're going to be this year. He's going to make it a point of emphasis from OTAs to training camp on to the regular season. I understand that they acquired George Pickens, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to run the football. I believe in that offensive line. They're young, but they have invested into that offensive line. Those guys are going to be better. And the better they are, the better the Cowboys will be as the season goes along as well.
When Dak came into the league, they had the monster offensive line with all those first-round picks. They had the great running game with Ezekiel Elliott. Like, do they have the personnel to be that kind of team again?
No, they don't. And by the way, you mentioned how good Shotty was running the football with New York. Mike T got him some studs in the backfield. There's no Mike T there. There's just Jerry Jones messing up the roster as it goes along.
But we did overpay Damian Woody, so there's that.
Damian Woody. Yeah, I thought for a second you were talking about Jerry Jones was going to be the running back, but which I think would be hilarious. But no.
See that depth chart?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the running game if they can get it blocked.
Another 50 came in today from Cyclonic. So they got a Lamb jersey from Walmart. He would love to sign Asante Samuel for depth. I think they'll say he's too expensive to get him. I'll say this. I would like him. The Cowboys don't like the arm length that he brings, so why they didn't take him in the draft. The biggest issue with Asante Samuel isn't the cost. It's the injury history, speaking of that stuff. He had a neck surgery back in April. Is going to get rechecked at some point this month, probably around camp. If it checks out, he'll probably sign somewhere. I think in the end, Samuel might not fit because he wants to cash in next offseason. You go to a place like Dallas where you're the stopgap option, you might not get to cash in. Name a player who you want to sign. Let me know in the comments of today's show.